Hello everyone, this is Raphael.
I'm Loryn.
We're the Pacheco siblings, and welcome to the Hypercube podcast, a talk show in which two siblings converse about anything and everything. How are we doing?
Doing all right. Not as sick as I was last week.
That's good. Yeah, we're playing a little bit of catch up here, so our recording schedule is all sort of out of whack, but it's working. We're catching up. We're catching up to our backlog.
There's a lot of stuff going on right now. That's just like we're both just like gotta dodge all the events on our calendars and line things up.
Yeah, pretty much. So in addition to doing less recording last time, dude, on account of your sickness. So, but I mean, that's our life really. There's always busyness.
You say less recording. We were supposed to record for half an hour. That was an hour-long episode, Raph.
Well, it was still only one episode, though.
It was only one.
Of the usual two.
Yes.
To give everyone a peek behind the curtains, we usually record these two at a time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, we're getting back to it, getting back on schedule, and hopefully getting back to some sense of normalcy. Mm-hmm. We'll see. But that really is our lives, is constantly dodging around schedules. I don't know why I thought we'd be able to keep up a regular podcast on a good rhythm, because our schedules are always so all over the place, and we're currently on completely opposite sides of the planet. Yeah. And yeah, there's always just so much going on in our lives at any given moment. It's kind of ridiculous, especially lately. I feel like these last couple of years have really been when things have hit their peak of just constantly being in the middle of some either, and it's like everything too, right? It's not even one specific thing. It's not all business. It's not all social issues. It's not all interpersonal stuff, right? Like it's not all, that stuff is all there, right? Like a pandemic happened in that time frame. Right. That's kind of a big, socio-political issue, but that like was hardly the biggest thing that made an impact on how ridiculous our schedule has become these past couple of years. Yeah,
like, what do you call it? Like in the flow of our lives, the pandemic really didn't make that big of an impact compared to some other stuff that's just like completely separate. That's just specific to like our situation.
It's so weird. Which, to be clear, the pandemic was super disruptive.
Yeah.
Like, it's super disruptive, but it's just like for us, there was just so many other things that were more personally disruptive.
Yeah. Just like it was bad, but just comparatively to our personal schedules, it didn't make that big of an impact. Like, so much other stuff has been going on.
Yeah. And it helps that we've both done what were deemed to be necessary jobs during that time period when the pandemic was at its worst. So that's a whole thing. But anyway, thankfully, our current, at least in the United States, I don't know how things are over in Aussie land, but the fever's breaking a little bit here where we're starting to see numbers really on the whole go down, but that's happened before.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it works out in the long term. But in the meantime, get vaccinated, people.
Get your COVID and flu vaccines.
Oh, yeah. And monkeypox. That's the new hot thing nowadays. We're getting invaded by monkeypox.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, guys. I mean, everything's bad.
Speaking of flu vaccines, I got vaccinated. Emphasis. Vaccinated.
You got the vaccinated?
I got vaccinated. I got the flu vaccine here. And that was interesting.
Whoa, against Aussie flu?
Apparently. I don't know. Apparently there's a really bad flu going on over here.
Oh, no. How are the kangaroos?
I haven't found one yet. But apparently you can eat them.
You haven't found a kangaroo yet?
I have.
What are you doing?
Well, we have a plan to go down to like I don't know what you would call them, like they're not like wildlife sanctuaries or like zoo or whatever types of, like there is a zoo nearby, but like wildlife sanctuaries are my preference.
Oh yeah.
We have a plan to go down to that one at some point. We just have to figure out when. But we've got like we have some time to figure out when we're gonna go and look at some kangaroos, some koalas, and some.
I better see some selfies with kangaroos on our community server at some point.
It's not going to be a selfie. It's going to be a 2-minute bout in a ring.
Yeah, it's going to be a boxing match.
Like,
also, find the koalas.
It's just going to be in the cage, and you're going to see me come out stage left, full boxing gear, and just like boxing inside of its cage.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so ripped. It's crazy.
It's kind of
I'm
ridiculous.
still fascinated by kangaroos. I don't think I've talked at all on the podcast how fascinated I am by kangaroos. But kangaroos are fascinating creatures. They're one of several creatures that I find oddly fascinating.
Yeah.
That might be a whole topic that we have to delve into at some point, is creatures on this planet that I find fascinating.
Yeah, and also specifically creatures that were designed for a martial art.
Yeah. That's the thing that blows my mind most about kangaroos, is that they're martial artists, and, trained and competent martial artists too. It's literally part of their culture that they pass down training in kickboxing. How many non-human species get trained in martial arts? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you can count them on one hand. Kangaroos are there.
Yeah. Kangaroos and humans, that's pretty much all I can think of.
There's a few.
Although the Shaolin might beg to differ, but...
There's a few, I think.
Yeah.
Because there are some pretty combative...
Yeah, the Shaolin would argue about the ones that they based all their martial arts styles on, but I don't think grasshoppers really have a culture, or... not grasshoppers, mantis, sorry.
Mantis, yeah.
I don't think mantises really have a culture of martial arts in the same way that kangaroos do.
Yeah, there are a few combative species out there, but I don't think any of them are as systematized as kangaroos literally just doing boxing, punching.
Oh yeah. It's ridiculous. One of the things that fascinates me most about kangaroos is, you've heard me give this description before, but they seem so specifically designed to fight humans. It's weird. It just feels like they're literally God put a monster in the wild that's just designed as the Virgil to the Dante that is humans. You know what I mean?
It's just a hard counter.
Yeah. It's just it's literally this animal that's just out there for the sole purpose of fighting humans and each other.
And it's not even it's not a hard counter. This was designed to kill humans, to fight them. They don't always win.
Yeah.
The point is that they fight.
It's designed to be an even match.
Yeah,
really.
For whatever reason.
To be fair, kangaroos have now this just turned into the kangaroo podcast. Kangaroos have lots of natural advantages over humans.
Yeah.
They're generally taller on average.
They will disembowel you.
They're a lot stronger. I mean, have you seen how friggin' jacked they are?
Mm-hmm.
And they have natural weapons.
Yeah.
So lots of natural advantages.
But we have ingenuity and training.
We do have ingenuity, and clearly, they're no match for the element of surprise, because of one of my favorite viral videos of a kangaroo getting absolutely gobsmacked by the dude who decked him in the face after trying to kill his dog. Yeah. Clearly, It's
I got your dog. No, you don't. Pop. Whoa.
Pop. Yeah. And
you're not a kangaroo.
Yeah. You see the look on his face? He was absolutely flabbergasted by that right hook. So, clearly they can be mentally discombobulated by humans. So, I think it evens out in the end. They'll just be shocked by the sheer audacity and then run away.
I don't remember. You just reminded me of this dumb edit from the Sherlock Holmes movie. Have you seen the discombobulate meme where it's...
Yes, I have seen that edit.
It's the whole discombobulate scene, but it's all discombobulate.
Oh yeah, it's great. There are a lot of spin-offs of that meme too.
Distract him, discombobulate.
Yeah.
Disrupt floating rib, discombobulate.
My favorite part of this is in the end where it's just in summary, discombobulate.
And then it's just smacking him with the face over and over again.
It actually cuts it all together. Oh my goodness, it's so funny. There's actually a pretty good discombobulate edit of Iron Man discombobulating Thanos.
Oh no!
In Infinity War. It's actually pretty good. It's not bad. After seeing it, I was like, okay, I see what they did there, but just from an editor standpoint, I feel like there was some refinement that could have been done to the cut. But it's dumb memes. Yeah, it's literally it's just one of those posts that just you do it just to do it. But it's dumb meme. It's really, the reason is that it's not worth the effort, that it hasn't been done better. But it's a decent video in and of itself. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with those memes is as soon as you get the idea in somebody's head, it lives in there, and then you can exactly. Make the edit fine.
It's perfect
in your brain because you just have to get the idea into someone's brain. of Iron Man doing the discombobulate. It's like, oh yeah, that is pretty funny, isn't it?
I was gonna say something speaking of kangaroos earlier, but I don't remember where I was going. Oh, I know. Well, I was going to say, because I was thinking about other creatures that fascinate me. Yeah. You also know I'm very fascinated by bears. Okay, and we talked briefly over the community server over the new Predator movie that's coming out.
Oh, yes.
Titled Prey. I wanted to talk about that a little bit because, well, first off, you know nothing about it.
I know. Okay.
Because you don't watch trailers.
That's true that I know nothing about it. However, I looked it up just to see, like, what is
just to see what it is
about. And I almost cussed for the first time on this show. I blew my stuff. It looks really freaking good.
Did you watch the trailer?
I did not watch the trailer. I looked at stills and I was like, holy crap. Oh, I guess there it is. I was like, this looks...
No, that doesn't fine, have to get censored. That's not explicit.
This looks like this looks like a faithful sequel to the Predator franchise.
Or a prequel in this case.
The next one in the franchise, right? Because it takes the concept. It does something. It's familiar, but like it takes it into a new setting, which is good. It takes it into a new direction, kind of. Like obviously it's the Predator franchise, but renaming it Prey immediately changes the vibes of that. Just the name.
Yeah.
The naming convention is perfect. You had the Predator, now you have Prey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks so good. I watched the trailer
just from the stills,
the full trailer, and I was gonna say the trailer blew my mind because again, perhaps ingeniously from a marketing perspective, like I had no clue what it was going to be going into it.
Of course,
because I have a regimen for keeping up with movie trailers just to keep track of the industry, and I went into this. I was like, oh, Prey. Okay, looks cool. Thumbnail looks well produced. It doesn't look like a small budget movie, but I had no idea that was going to be part of the Predator franchise until like midway through the trailer, and they do a good job of masking it up to that point too. Because you're just watching it and you're just like, oh, this is some like historic Native American epic of some kind. It follows like this female hunter who's like trying to stick it to the patriarchy and be like, I can do it too. I'm gonna go out hunting with my animal companion, Total Ranger. So she's got like a wolf animal companion.
Oh, that's cool.
Actually, it's more like it is a dog, not an actual wolf, but it's still like because it's at that point in history you do have dog breeds, but
they're all still basically wolves.
Essentially, but yeah, it looks, and then like I said, it reminds me heavily of The Revenant in its approach to its setting, a very wilderness survival, very, and actually in that exact same time period, generally, from what I can tell, like they have guns and muskets and stuff.
Okay.
But it is like following mostly Native American tribe that doesn't have as much access to that sort of stuff, but it does look like there's going to be some encounters with early firearms.
Yeah. So this is like post landing by the Pilgrims and the colonialists, or colonists,
basically, colonists. So it looks roughly, judging by the technology of the firearms, to be roughly the same era as The Revenant. And also, it totally has like a bear mauling scene that like really gave me that vibe, where it was like one of the first things it shows is, when she goes out to hunt on her own and she, picks a fight with a bear and gets trapped, and then the bear totally gets got by a predator. And like, I didn't even, again, it's that point where I was like, okay, hold on, this trailer is going in a different direction than I was expecting. Because like the bear mysteriously dies. She doesn't see what did it, but then the bear starts getting lifted up into the air by some invisible force. I'm like, wait, what the heck? This trailer is going a whole different direction than I was expecting. There's some supernatural element maybe, and then like it cuts to black and you hear the predator snarl sound of like the sound that the creature makes. I'm like, oh snap. And it looks amazing though, and it's just a predator taken on early Native American, or not early Native American, but just, early colonial period Native American tribe. And it looks really cool. And then the protagonist is just like, oh man, I wanted to be a hunter, but I didn't realize that like this is the prey I was born to hunt. And then, it starts starts doing her thing, and I'm like, okay, it actually looks pretty epic. That's a really fresh concept.
Yeah.
And that finally looks like something worthwhile to do with the Predator franchise in a good long while, because Shane Black made an attempt at the Predator franchise a little while back.
Which one was that?
Apparently wasn't very good at all. It was called The Predator.
The Predator? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, The Predator. Apparently wasn't that great. Haven't seen it, but I will say from the trailers it did not look great.
Ooh, the latest
However,
one
the one that came directly before that, which was titled Predators.
Yeah, that one was okay.
Predators was really good.
Yeah.
I thought that one was great.
I really liked that one.
I thought that one was genuinely worthwhile. And apparently a lot of other people did too.
Yeah.
Like now that I'm seeing a lot of people sharing their thoughts on the franchise as a whole, there was actually pretty surprising amount of strong support for that film. I'm like, oh wow, it wasn't just me that liked that movie. A lot of people were saying like, no, yeah, that might be one of the better ones. And I think there's a lot that's great in that one.
Yeah,
and not least the cast, but
absolutely,
that's also a pretty fresh concept, I thought.
And also like just its play on, well, spoiler alert, there's a twist, but its play on the concept of the Predator is fascinating. Like that's one of those, like, it's logical progressions that you don't expect for this kind of franchise, where it's like, it's the Predators, it's going to be all action, it's Schwarzenegger, right? It's all like adrenaline and high action, and all these Predators, all these like survivor competent types, they're all soldiers, except
right.
And then the movie gets really good.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that one's a good one. I actually really like that movie. And I actually only recently saw the original Predator to begin with, though, to be fair, which is a great film. Well, I'd seen it before. It's just been a very long time. I would consider it my first viewing, though, because I didn't remember too much of it. But yeah, obviously such a fantastic film. I still can't get over the fact that there's 2 US governors in that film.
It's kind of crazy. And Shane Black?
Yeah, I still can't get over the fact that Shane Black acts in that film. I was like, I've never seen him act before, but apparently he was an actor at one point. Didn't know he was ever anything but a writer. Yeah, there's just a lot of other weird stuff in that movie.
It's really, that movie, like, here's the thing. I'm like he said, pretty sure we've seen it sometime when we were younger, but I have no memory of it. Or no memory of like seeing the film through, like, all the way through. However, that movie was not what I was expecting going into it. I don't think I could have perceived how campy and awesome that movie was with what I know about it now.
It's so campy.
It's so campy and it's so good.
Yeah, it doesn't take itself seriously at all.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I shouldn't say at all, but yeah,
except in the last sequence.
Yeah, I was gonna say the last act,
because that last sequence is freaking awesome.
Yeah, is just total awesomeness. But for the most part, it's basically like a typical action movie of the era up to a certain point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's doesn't take itself seriously. They're mowing down all of these generic foreigners. Yeah. They are, and saying one-liners and having all this super commando banter. The action heroes are just completely indestructible, and then the Predator comes in and you're like, oh snap. And it's actually really, I feel like it's a good twist on genre convention in the particular era that it came out.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that must have been a deliberate choice even within the time, just as an act of self-awareness. But yeah, looking back on it, it's still great to watch now. It's still just a fun movie.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster. That's like, there are a lot of movies that are just roller coasters where it's just strap in, prepare yourself for 2 hours of entertainment, and that is all.
Yeah,
like you're gonna come out of this going, ah.
And there's so many great like classic lines.
Oh, so many.
Some of which I didn't even realize were from it, like, until we watched it more recently. I was like, oh wow.
Half of them I was prepared for, and the other half I was like, what? That's in this movie?
Yeah, you gotta love it when you see a movie that just makes you realize what classic lines are from it.
I know this,
but there were so many.
There
were so many in that one.
Like, even in like in the first act, it's just like bombshell one-liner after bombshell one-liner.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Freaking sexual Tyrannosaurus. I didn't know that was in this movie.
I had no idea that was from that movie either. Yeah, I had heard that's been referenced so many times in so many different media. Times. And for some reason, it's so many achievements in different video games.
And like that's the kind of thing where it's just like, I knew they were all paying homage to something. I didn't know it was Predator.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of video games, there was something I actually wanted to ask you about also. Might as well do it on the podcast. Have you heard about this game called Routine?
Routine?
Yeah, I recently saw a trailer for it, and it actually looks very interesting because I heard about it because Mick Gordon is apparently doing the soundtrack for it. And I was like, I'll listen to any soundtrack he makes, even if he isn't the best businessman, it turns out. But yeah, like, I'm still salty that we don't have the Doom Eternal soundtrack in our hands. That just feels like an unforgivable thing to me. But yeah, this is the next project that he's going to be doing the soundtrack for. And I'm like, this is actually an interesting turn. Well, because I think Mick Gordon has done a good job of taking on variety in his work, in his body of work, because like he kind of got his big break with Killer Instinct. And then he goes from that to Doom, which is a very different beast. Now he's going from Doom to this game called Routine, which is an entirely different beast from the last two. Because this is a pure survival horror game.
So lots of like atmospheric and...
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do with survival horror. I honestly have no idea.
He's an excellent music producer. I wonder how he's going to approach that, because obviously survival horror can have a lot of different kinds of sounds. Basically, there's a lot of different ways to make people uneasy, which I like. I like the practical route where you're using real instruments, or quote, heavy air quote, instruments to make music, or just whatever. Like I showed you that one, again, heavy air quotes, instrument that was built for, I forget what movie, or was it a movie or was it a game that this musician made to basically create all the sounds for the soundtrack for it. And it was this just like machine that churned out sound that is just like extremely creepy and like eerie, and it like gets under your skin and it feels crawly, and it's just like, it's beautiful. I love that direction. But Mick Gordon is a fantastic, like, he's a fantastic engineer. He can make sounds.
Yeah.
He can make like synthetic sounds.
Yeah. And if
I wonder which way he's gonna go. I wonder if he's gonna continue to use everything electronically.
Yeah, and if you listen to some of the more atmospheric tracks on Doom and Doom Eternal, it's like, I guess what he did in those, it might be a good preview of the possibility, because like those are what made me realize that it was possible, right? When I saw that he was scoring a survival horror game, I was immediately went back to some of those more atmospheric Doom tracks of some of the ambience, and I was like, yeah, he did create like a sort of creepy, hellish vibe with those. And so, yeah, I know he's capable of doing more atmospheric stuff, but I'm very curious what he's going to do with a full survival horror game. Yeah, and it's a fascinating,
like the one focus.
Yeah, it's a fascinating sort of setting too, because it's something that I think is a cool concept to use for survival horror. Because first off, the genre of horror it's sci-fi space horror.
Ooh, oh, okay.
Yeah, but like it's very much looks like it's in the direction the devs talk about it being like a very retro future type of thing, right? So definitely, but it's weird because it has like very kind of photorealistic rendering. So it's like retro future, but everything's very believable looking.
Okay, interesting.
And so it actually very much looks like, and they're probably taking heavy inspiration from this Alien Isolation.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
where Alien Isolation was very much the same thing. It presented the original Alien film's vision of the future, which was very much a kind of industrial retro future vibe, and then but then like put that in photorealistic rendering. But it looks very much in that same sort of style of sort of industrialized environments and a minimal HUD, right? Where Dead Space did that too, where all of the HUD is built into your gear, and so that creates a bit more of an immersive experience. And I really love that stuff, actually. I think that's super cool when HUD is built into the flavor of the game. And so, but like
it makes it tangible.
Yeah. But I guess the horror, the enemies of that game are actually one that I think is a super fresh concept to be explored for survival horror, because I don't think I've seen this one done before. Which is robots.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if we've seen a robot survival horror game.
I'm trying to think. Yeah,
that could be there's lots of potential there, because robots can be scary.
Robots are scary.
Yeah, killer
They're taking our
robots.
jobs. That's scary.
Yeah, exactly right. But I mean, like, I guess there's precedent for that though, because I think that's sort of the Terminator tradition, right? You look at Terminator
Kind
1.
of, yeah.
But I mean, Terminator to me has always been more action than it is horror. The first one definitely, I guess the first one's like a thriller, which is like the solid middle ground between action and horror. But yeah, I think those have always leaned more action. I think, but if you really lean into the existential horror elements of the first film, I feel like you get kind of a prototype for what a game like this could be. But then set it in space and, you know, then combine it with those sort of alien/Dead Spacey kind of elements.
Yeah, is it solidly set in space, like on a spaceship or a station?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a space station of some sort.
Okay.
So, and probably going to be full of industrial tool weapons like in Dead Space.
Oh, that's I keep wanting to talk about this, but like I love Dead Space just a lot. The more I look into like its production and like just like also the guy who made Dead Space, the guy who headed that project, like the more I'm falling in love with Dead Space.
Oh yeah,
just everything about it's so good. Like it's so purely survival horror. Like you have a gun in that game that isn't. It's not a weapon. It's a tool. It's like it's a plasma cutter. You're not shooting bullets. You're using basically a blowtorch as an instrument to defend yourself. Like that is so survival horror. Like but it's like set in the future, so you can do all this like cool stuff. So everything's familiar and grounded in what we as gamers know. We can jump into that game and go, okay, I shoot things and they die. But in the context of the game, it's just some mining engineer who's just trying to like survive, picks up a blowtorch and just goes to town on his fellow colonists. Like it's so good.
Yeah, there's a lot that's great about Dead Space. And that's definitely, that whole trilogy was definitely something that I had a lot of fun with when playing through those as they came out. Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun in, was it Dead Space 3? That was the co-op one?
Yeah, Dead Space 3 was co-op. I think that was probably the weakest link in the franchise, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah, the experience we got just playing together and not like in that setting, that's still great.
Yeah, I think Dead Space was a phenomenal game, and I think Dead Space 2 really, I kind of perfected a lot of its formula. I feel like Dead Space 2 was a lot, basically a lot more refined version of the same thing. And, but then, Dead Space 3 was just like, well, this is a whole different beast. Dead Space 3 was like I feel like it was like the Resi 5 a bit of that franchise. Where it's just like, okay, we are solidly off the rails of what this used to be, which you could love or hate, you know, which is, I think, part of the Resi 5 vibe as well. I personally love Resi 5, but I think I was a bit less impressed with Dead Space 3, but it's still a ton of fun, though. Ton of fun. Yeah. So, I missed that franchise.
What was that called again? That game?
Routine.
The
one that was talking about.
So that game, you're fighting robots. Are you, or like the player character, are they just like a blue collar like engineer
I imagine
type as well?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I imagine. I don't know too much of the story details. I only saw a very brief teaser that was sort of announcing it.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Killer robots, a solid horror
from space.
From space. But too bad I don't have much time to play video games anymore. I know we still talk about them, but I'm as if we're gonna play them. But it's like it's probably not gonna happen anytime soon.
I have solidly come to terms with the fact that I am no longer a gamer. I do not play games anymore. I mean, okay, a video gamer. Okay, because I am still a gamer. I switched mediums. I have solidly come to terms that I am probably no longer, for a good while, going to play like the latest video games. And I have settled with watching other people play it. Like I have come to that point in my life where I'm like, I like this game. It looks interesting. As a storyteller, I still want the experience of the story, of the atmosphere, of everything that this this game has to offer. However, I don't have that kind of time. Let me go find somebody who does.
Yeah. All right, well, before we wind down for this episode, there's a bit of a new segment that we want to introduce, isn't there?
There is, yes.
All right, so I don't know why this needs to be a segment because this is something we do all the time anyway. But let's formalize it. It's time for complaints. I just like punched the air like it was some exciting thing just happened, but we're just about to start complaining.
It's time for complaints.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any complaints this week. I think my Resident Evil rant on the Netflix series could have qualified if we'd thought of this as a formal segment earlier. And then we had more Resident Evil talk last week, but that wasn't complaining. I guess there was some complaining, but that wasn't primarily a complaining experience. It was more of a discussion. Yeah. But yeah, the Resident Evil Netflix thing was definitely hard complaints.
Yeah.
All the way through.
For sure.
So I want to know what you've got to complain about because you have written something in our notes that has completely baffled me. I have no idea what you're about to complain about, even just looking at this.
All right. Raph, I need to complain about mice.
Why are you complaining about mice?
Not the scurrying little rodents that just, eat at your walls and your attics or whatever. I'm talking about computer mice.
What's wrong with them?
Why are there no good options for computer mice?
Well, hold on. You've got this vertical ergonomic mouse that you're using now. It's wireless. What are you complaining about? You've upgraded.
You're
in the future.
I want you, Raph, to think about keyboards for a little bit. I don't know if you know how many iterations of the keyboard exist, because for some reason people take the interface, obviously like the QWERTY layout that can be switched out, right? There's so many different kinds of key layouts that you can do. The QWERTY one is what I think most people in I was gonna say North America, but I think it's as well most in Europe, but I think there is like a European version that's a little bit more, it's a little bit different. But I'm not talking about like key layout. I'm talking about like the physical keyboard. You've seen like the keyboards that like the ergonomic keyboards that are, more tailored to their hands, the ones that are split in half. There are keyboards that are just one half of the key. So it's like just the left-hand stuff, like for gaming or whatever. There are keyboards that are just like number rows for like MMO players who need just keybinds, literally just an entire pad that is a keyboard for keybinds, right?
Yeah.
The mouse comes in the same three shapes, maybe with a couple extra buttons, and that's it. There's like 6 different kinds of mice you can buy in different shapes or in different colors and flavors and feels, but there's nowhere near the amount of customizability in mice than there is in keyboards. You can go on like, I don't know the places that you go to get like 3D printed stuff. You can go out to those places where you get your 3D printed goodness and find people making custom keyboard layouts with like clickety clacks and the swooshes and like the flips, but like 3 to 5 different kinds of mice tops, and that's it. That's all you get. How come there's no community of people who are just like, you know what, this mouse thing could be improved? Because like there are some interesting things that you can do with not with mice, but with like pointer interfaces, right? There's like the trackball, there's some other stuff like that, like the joystick or whatever, right? Those all suck for design, at least. That's what I'm talking about from a design point of view. Okay. There's the pen and tablet, which is a whole kit and caboodle that you have to set up just to get a writing thing, right? Just to get a writing feel for your mouse. And that's kind of what we're more like used to, at least. That's what I'm like more used to, like, pen and drawing, translating that over to design. It's comfortable, but it's a whole thing to set up. You have to get a tablet, you have to plug it in, then you have to download drivers. A mouse is a mouse. You plug it in, it works every time. Why do our mice suck?
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but let me play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
First off, mice don't have to do nearly as many things as a keyboard, right? Like a keyboard, you ever see hackers hack stuff? They never touch the mouse in all these movies. Why?
Of course, yes.
Because they need to type, I guess. But you know what I mean? Like there's so many, the keyboard is the place where the buttons are at. It's intuitive to add more buttons to it.
You know what? I think
whereas like the mouse,
I think you're right.
That's just the thing. It's a pure navigation tool. And so, and even so, like you can get mice that have lots of bindable buttons to them. Like I've seen a mouse with like 8 buttons on them.
You can get a mice with like 24 buttons on it. I'm not talking about buttons. That's the keyboard's job. I don't want buttons on my mice. That's the problem.
Okay, so you're just saying in terms of the grip? Like the shape of the mouse?
Grip, the hand feel of the mouse. Because basically, I want a mouse to function as close to a pen as possible.
Why don't you just get a pen?
Because it's a whole kit and caboodle. However, I think you're right. I think hackers are cool.
Yeah, totally.
And that's just a fact.
I saw some in another trailer, less impressive trailer I saw earlier this week. I saw some more great hacking stuff. It was hilarious.
Gonna hack the mainframe.
Mm-hmm.
Hackers are cool. I think the 90s did a really good PR service for the hacking community and the coding community. However, artists are still they're not nerds. They're like, I don't know, like artists are still like, artists are weird.
Not all of them, at least.
They're the weird ones. They're the ones who are just like, oh, like you do art and you draw. That's whatever. Like you're not cool. But like, even if the things you draw are cool, the artist isn't usually portrayed as the cool one. Hackers are cool. And they've got sunglasses and trench coats. I want good artist representation in media so that we can get some freaking mice.
Yeah.
Better. I want cultural change to accept artists as being dope people.
Okay,
and then we can get some good mice out in the market.
I hear what you're getting at here. Right? Like we need like the Minority Report treatment. Right, exactly. But for something that's actually attainable to use as a mouse instead of like that whole, finger tutting glove thing that.
But because that's still basically a keyboard. Have you seen these keyboards that have like the finger clicky things? Those are weird. Anyways, there's this keyboard that somebody made that you can wear. It's a glove, and the keys are on the inside, like on the palm. And so like you're like if you just like rest your hand like by your side, like your fingers curl up towards the palm. Where your fingers lay, that's where the keys are, and your thumb has like a couple of different buttons up like on the side of the index finger. I think like function buttons, basically, like they change the function of the keys. So you have like up to what would that be? 4, 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, or 8 times 4. Like you have like 32 different key combinations that you can do just by keeping your hands like rested. It's crazy.
Wow.
And I imagine it's insanely hard to do. But
I was gonna say that sounds so futuristic and unnecessary. I don't know how I feel about that. Like that sounds
it's just like
that sounds elaborate.
Somebody was like, you know what? I like this idea of the keyboard, but I hate having to move.
Yeah, right. Let me just wear my keyboard. Okay, but let me get back to what you were saying about mice.
Yeah.
So Minority Report type thing. So what we need, let me outline for you like maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3-step program for how we can achieve your dream of creating cultural change about the way we perceive mice. Okay. So what I'm getting from you is that maybe, just maybe, what would solve this issue is if Overwatch created a character giving representation to artists who wields like a pen tablet or something of that nature, or like wields a mouse type interface or a mouse type object to interface with a computer in such a way that allows them to hurt people and or help people. It's Overwatch. There's a team dynamic here.
Support tank.
Yeah. So, and then step 3, profit. That's what I'm gathering basically. Here. That sounds like the kind of, in today's world, that sounds like the kind of thing that creates the kind of change you're seeking.
Maybe.
At least now that Overwatch might be becoming culturally relevant again with this Overwatch 2 business, because I think there was a period in time where that was the way to change culture, was to create an Overwatch character. Now, then they kind of fell off the radar, but now Overwatch 2 is happening and everyone's remembering that Overwatch is the thing again. And they came out with a new short film that I haven't seen yet.
Yes, they did.
In which I will always watch the short films. I will always watch the short films, even if I never play. If I don't pick up the game again.
For whatever reason, this game company is an excellent animation studio.
They are a phenomenal animation studio. I don't know why.
I guess that even before that, 'cause like Blizzard has like all the World of Warcraft stuff as well.
Yeah, World of Warcraft and
Diablo, I think. I don't know if Diablo's good.
I don't know about Diablo. Yeah, I haven't seen Diablo.
I know they have it. I know it's StarCraft, but I don't know.
StarCraft is what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've long had great in-house animation teams. They can practically, they're like a second Blur Studios, except Blur Studios is still Blur Studios. I don't know if anybody's ever gonna usurp Blur Studios' position at the top of the industry.
The fact that you have to compare the Blizzard animation studio to Blur is the fact that like nobody's gonna get past Blur. You're always going to be compared to Blur Studios.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, you're like the Blur Studios of insert field here.
Yeah. And they're practically, I mean, Blur Studios is big business now, right? Like they've got a hit Netflix show called Love, Death, and Robots.
And it's fantastic. I still need to show you some choice episodes.
Yeah, apparently people keep telling me I need to, namely you and Rose, keep telling me that I need to see some serious stuff from that series. I mean, they do feature films now, right? Like the first Deadpool movie was practically a Blur Studios production. Like it's crazy.
That's like a Tim Miller special.
Yeah, Tim Miller special, which is really cool to see. What's really, but that's a whole other discussion. Maybe we'll save this for the next podcast because we've exhausted this segment. This has been a complaint.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and that's my complaint. Although I didn't get into my ideal mouse. That might be a separate topic.
Okay. Hold on. You give me a quick 30-second elevator pitch on your ideal mouse.
I want a mouse. So first, the main problem that I have with the ergonomic mouse that I have right now is when you hold it, just like with a mouse, like any other mouse, the optical sensor is in the middle of the mouse. Like it's in the center body. So if I were to try to draw with the mouse, like it is in a very natural position, it would be as if I was holding a pen. However, the optical sensor is in a different position than where my fingers are pointed, right? So I want a mouse where the optical sensor is located at the front of the mouse, as if I was drawing, as if I was writing. And maybe instead of having an ergonomic grip where it conforms to the palm of my hand and just like as if I was holding like a cup, as if I was holding a pen, have a nib at the front that I can grip with my fingers and draw with, and have directly under that the sensor. And so that if I were to draw with this, like with this mouse, as if it were a pen, I can draw and the mouse on the screen will react as if I were holding a pen instead of in the middle of the body of the mouse, where it's not a one-to-one translation.
Okay. You kept it under a minute and a half, so that's not so bad. Some elevator rides are a minute and a half.
Yeah. But that's what I would like is basically I just want to move. I just, if all you did was move the sensor from the middle of the mouse to the front, I would be happy.
But here's the thing, because pens are the tools of digital artists and designers.
Yes.
So pen tablets, that is. So what you're saying though is that you want this specifically to be a mouse, which means it's not just a design tool. It needs to be something that's functional as a design tool and as an everyday mouse. That's your ideal.
Yes.
Okay, I gotcha. Big ideas here in the Hypercube podcast. Be glad you tuned in. This is the future. We're giving this stuff away for free.
Yeah, you know what? If you can have this. If you make this, I will buy it.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Waiting for the Kickstarter. And if nobody makes it, then we'll just have to wait until we become a tech company too, so that we can make it ourselves.
It's probably inevitable.
Probably inevitable.
Probably inevitable.
Probably inevitable is a great turn of phrase. So anyway, thank you all very much for listening. This has been a complaint, and this has also been the Hypercube podcast. Thank you all very much for listening. This show is edited by Loryn Pacheco, mixed by Raphael Pacheco, with original theme music by Mono Memory. Till next time, we'll see y'all later. God bless.
Arrivederci.